Guys, I need your help. It's an emergency right now. So currently I am lost in the forest. If you've watched literally any scary movie, any horror movie, especially at the beginning of the movie, then you already know what's about to happen to me very, very soon. So I need you to go ahead and like and subscribe to this channel. Otherwise, you may never see me again ever in your life. Yo, welcome back to the channel, boys and girls. In today's video, we are doing an update on my TanTan GR201 gravel frame set. We're also doing an update on these 9VELO GV45 wheels, as well as the SRAM Eagle mountain bike group set. And now that it is finally properly spring here in Chicagoland, I'm able to take this gravel bike out on some single track, some proper gravel, and be able to give you guys a little bit more feedback on what it's like to live with this gravel bike on a day-to-day basis. So without further ado, let's begin. We are currently riding along the Des Plaines River Trail just west of the city limits. It's an absolutely gorgeous trail, especially here in the springtime. You have mixed terrain, you have a lot of gravel, you have some single track. Of course, you have some paved areas when you get into the various cities, but it is a perfect trail for this type of bike. So let's go ahead and talk about what this bike is all about. Okay, so TanTan GR201 gravel bike. What's it all about? So some of the main features on here, which is really important to a lot of consumers, is we finally have an internal storage compartment here on the down tube. You can put your kit in there, some extra snacks, whatever you need. It's a fantastic option for this type of gravel bike. The retail price on the frame set from TanTan is around $650 USD, not including custom paint, not including shipping. So please keep that in mind. As far as the geometry on this gravel bike, as you can tell, this is definitely on the more aggressive and race side of gravel. So this geometry is probably not going to work for everyone, so just kind of keep that in mind. But if you are someone such as myself, where you are on the taller side and or you have really long arms, then I think you'll be able to really get along with this gravel frame set. And then it also comes with a round seat post, which is really nice. So should you break this or it gets damaged, you're able to easily swap out this seat post, which is what I did, mainly because I needed a 20mm setback seat post. The nice thing about upgrading my seat post to this design from AliExpress is this one uses the 2-bolt design. When it comes to gravel, especially when you're going over some crazy bumps, this single bolt design that comes standard from TanTan, it does have a chance to slip an angle downward or backward, something that you absolutely don't want for obvious reasons. And so with this 2-bolt design, not only do you have a more secure saddle, but you're just able to easily make adjustments to the angle of your saddle on the fly simply just by adjusting these 2 bolts. So this is a really nice design. It only cost me about 30 bucks on AliExpress, but yeah, definitely get this design if you're going to be using this for gravel. As far as the integrated cockpit, which is included in the price, mine is a 110mm length stem, and then the handlebars, it's a flared setup. It's about like 38 on the hoods, and then in the drops it's like 42 or 46, I don't really know. Then of course it comes with the integrated bolts for your computer mount, which is really, really nice. Tire clearance on here is like 50C tires on here. Some people online have reported to been able to run either 2.1 or 2.2 gravel tires. For the type of gravel riding I do, I would say within about 3 to 4 hours of Chicago. I don't really need that wide of tires, but it is really, really nice to have that feature. Of course, you have all of your various mounting points. If you want to do a bag here, if you want to do your nutrition here on the top tube, do some fenders, all of that, you will really be able to get along with this frame really very, very well. Now, as tires go, I am running these Continental Terra Speed in a 45C width. Interesting enough is once these are pumped up to the correct tire pressure, these actually only measure about 43 at the rim, which is a little bit disappointing, but it is what it is. But with that being said, as far as how these feel out on both paved roads and then the gravel that I've been doing today, they feel really, really good. They feel very fast on the paved sections, and then they do give you a lot of control on the gravel, particularly dry gravel. If you are somewhere where it's a lot of wet gravel and grime, I would probably look for a different tire, particularly from Continental. But for what the type of gravel I do, these work well. As far as tire pressure goes for my weight, I'm running about, well, I started this ride at about 36, 35 PSI, and then I ended up lowering it. So I'm probably somewhere around 31, 32. And at that tire pressure, 31, 32, they are definitely the sweet spot. And the cool thing about these tires too is they are pretty affordable. You could probably get a pair for about $120, maybe $130 USD. And then we have this 3D printed saddle from a company called Onirii, I think that's how you pronounce it. Let me know in the comments down below. But it has a carbon fiber base. It has carbon rails as well. And then of course, as you can see, it's 3D printed. The width on here is about 143 millimeters. The length on it is about 140. It's a very, very comfortable place to be as far as the saddle goes. And as far as the more budget 3D printed saddles goes, this is by far the best one I've used. I believe this retails for about $120, but very, very comfortable. I highly recommend this 3D printed saddle. Next up, I want to talk about these wheels really quickly. So these are from 9VELO. These are their flagship gravel wheels. These are their GV45 version 2 gravel wheels. So of course you have steel spokes. You have an internal width on these rims at like 26 millimeters. The external width on them is about 32 millimeters. And like I said, on these 45C tires, they stretch out the tires to only about 43, which is really interesting. One of the things I want to note about these tires is, of all the wheels that I have featured on this channel, I'm not kidding you guys, and this is not anecdotal. You can say what you want, but these wheels are some of the truest wheels I have ever featured on this channel. All the premium wheels, all the OEM brands I've used, these wheels are so true and they feel absolutely bulletproof. Something that you want in a gravel wheel. Some of the other YouTubers online, you can call us shills if you want to, but they really, really highly recommend these 9VELO wheels. So in terms of gravel wheels, these are definitely the ones to go with. And then the depth on these is 45 millimeters. Now, before we talk about the drivetrain, because obviously the drivetrain is what really brings everything together with this gravel bike, I want to give a huge shout out to Cycle Limited for sending me out the Eagle transmission rear derailleur, as far as the Eagle cassette as well. If you are unfamiliar with who Cycle Limited is, they are an online brand based out of Boca Raton, Florida, basically South Beach, and they focus on buying, selling, trading of pre-owned bikes, wheels, etc. Another great feature about Cycle Limited is they recently started offering brand new components like group sets, cassettes, etc., which is how they were able to send me out these pieces, which is what I need for my gravel build. Some of the other aspects of Cycle Limited is they are a family-owned company. They're not some huge conglomerate online dealer where they're just trying to nickel and dime you for every single part of your trade-in. They really offer up very fair prices, and I do have I believe it's a $75 off code for your next purchase from Cycle Limited. So take a look at their website. They're really great people over there. Like I said, they're very much a family-owned, sort of low-key. They're just trying to expand out, but they're really just trying to get as many people as they can on bikes and wheels at a very affordable and fair price. Moving on to the group set, because this is the belle of the ball. We're rocking a SRAM Eagle transmission. This is the entry tier version. The rear derailleur is about $300 USD. It should be a little bit more affordable if you check on Cycle Limited's website if they have one for sale. The cassette we have is also an Eagle transmission. It's a 10 to 52 cassette. And then out front, we have a one-by system. As you can tell, this is a 44 tooth chainring. I think for the type of terrain and roads that I ride locally here in Chicagoland, even out at the beginning of Driftless region, which is about a 2-hour drive from Chicago, I think I'll need to upgrade to probably a 46 tooth, because I am a little bit under geared. It's going to make it really easy for climbs, but on the flats, I think I would do just a little bit better with a 46 tooth. As far as the length on the crank arm, it is a 170. We have Shimano pedals. I know this is blasphemy rocking a SRAM setup, but as far as like the shift quality and the precision, everything about this group set is fantastic. It's very crisp. Obviously it's not going to be as fast as an Explorer group set when it comes to shifting, but for this mountain bike rear derailleur, they very much focus on precision and allowing you to able to shift under load rather than having these lightning fast race type of shifting. But it's worked really, really well. And that's another thing that I really appreciate about this gravel bike is, as you guys can tell, or if you haven't figured out by now, this is using a UDH, universal derailleur hanger. Obviously you need this type of frame in order to run this transmission from SRAM. So again, think about this, guys, $650 USD for this gravel bike that has been really, really fantastic so far. It's been very serviceable, and you're able to run these modern type of group sets. As an overall experience, when it comes to just the fit and finish of this bike, the way I have everything set up, from the wheels, the tires, the group set, everything feels very premium. You would be really hard pressed to think that this was only a $650 gravel bike. It feels rock solid. It's very fun to ride on all the different terrain. I think the one thing I would change is, believe it or not, the stem on here, it's 110. I think I probably should have went to a 120 millimeter length stem. I did sort of prioritize handling, because for myself, as someone who's always running these very long stems, I didn't want a very slow steering experience. Obviously the angle of the fork is going to play some parts of that as well, but I am still able to get in my aero position over the hoods. I think I just could have used a little bit more reach, but for what it is, for the comfort that it brings, I think I do have everything set up pretty good. It's like 80 degrees here at the end of April here in Chicago, and I'm low-key, I'm kind of sweating buckets, I ain't gonna lie to you guys, but look how beautiful it is to be out here in the wilderness, not too far from the city. And every time I jump on a gravel bike, I'm always immediately reminded just how cool it is to be doing something other than road, especially nowadays when I'm really focused on my training, doing these higher intensity efforts. It's nice to be on a gravel bike. You don't have to worry about any of that. You can just take in the sights. You can stop whenever you want. You don't have to worry about walking in mud because you're wearing gravel shoes. It's just a fantastic experience, especially for a Zone 2 ride. So I want to talk about just what has my experience been like with this bike as a whole from a riding dynamic perspective. So you got to remember, guys, that nothing lives in a vacuum. Not one single component is really going to have that significant of an aspect as far as your riding experience. Your wheels, your tires, your saddle, your handlebars, your bike fit, all these things will play into how the bike is going to feel in a real world perspective. But with that being said, this bike has been fantastic. It has been very agreeable. I really don't have anything negative to report on this bike thus far. I'm going to continue to get more miles on this bike deeper into the spring and the summer, but everything just works really, really well. To be honest with you guys, you got the threaded bottom brackets, T47, UDH hanger, so you can run a modern transmission, but it works really, really well. Dynamically out in the real world, this bike feels fantastic, very agreeable. When it comes to the handling on it, it feels very predictable. There's nothing really twitchy about it. The overall bike, the way it's set up, it's very well planted. It very much is comfortable at speed. Unfortunately, I just have not been able to take it out on some crazy descents where you're going like 30 or 35 miles an hour. So I will have to report on what that is like later on in the spring and summertime. But as a whole, it feels rock solid. Feels bulletproof. I'm really happy with the way it turned out as far as the build. I think the wheels and the tire choice that I went with is really good. So for the frame set as a whole at this price point, highly recommended thus far. I don't really have anything negative to say about it. You get a threaded bottom bracket, you get a race geometry, UDH out back, so you're able to run these modern group sets. But as a whole, riding dynamically, it's exactly what I would expect from a gravel bike. And I would say it's even more has impressed me, being that it is only $650. One thing I forgot to discuss is this By Drivetrain system, particularly due to the fact that we are using a mountain bike cassette, and so the range and the gearing is pretty extreme between each gear. Now on some of my road bikes, I am running a By Drivetrain system, but with those cassettes, they're usually like a 10 to 30 or 10 to 28 cassette, and so the jump between gears aren't as extreme. So on here, I would say it works pretty well. If you are someone like myself, where when you are at threshold or you are at VO2 intensity, and you are usually a higher cadence rider where you're revving out between like 90 to 100 RPM as far as that cadence goes, I think you'll be okay. However, if you are a grinder, no diddy, where you're someone who usually lands between 70 to 80 RPM when you are putting down the power, I do think that the jumps will take some getting used to. So just kind of keep that in mind. That is one of the downside when it comes to using a By Drivetrain system for gravel or for a mountain bike. It's nice that you don't have to worry about the shifting at the front, and then between the clutch on this derailleur and just the way everything is set up, you shouldn't have any concerns with the chain dropping. Everything is nice and tight and firm, but you do have to be very mindful due to the fact that some of the jumps, especially when you get to the more grainy gears, the jump between gears can be very extreme. High cadence riders such as myself, it's not really that big of a deal. So all in all, the bike has been very agreeable, definitely recommended. The overall feel of it has been great. And we know that this bike has already been validated for hardcore riding, because I do know of a couple of athletes that have used this exact frame set in the British Gravel Championships. So we already know that this bike is really good for what it is. Now, as far as the internal compartment on the down tube, I really actually have not noticed it rattling, believe it or not. So maybe just some of that rattling just kind of settled in now that the bike is really good. But as a whole, it's a fantastic bike. I want to give a huge thank you to TanTan for sending me out the frame set, 9VELO for sending me out the gravel wheels. Of course, huge shout out to Cycle Limited for sending me out the Groupset out back. I could not have made this bike build possible without the help of all of these brands. And I'm just excited that I'm able to do something different other than constantly doing road bikes and road wheels. Questions, comments, and concerns, please feel free to leave them down below, and I will check you guys on the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.